that changed 3 lives. Ethan lived in a quiet town in Ohio, a place where the streets were lined with maples that turned gold every autumn, and where people still greeted each other by name. He worked at a small auto repair shop near the edge of town, the kind of place that smelled of oil, dust, and honest sweat. Life had not been kind to him. His father had left when he was 10, and his mother had passed away a few years later. Since then, Ethan had learned to live simply, quietly, with few expectations and even fewer dreams. Every Friday after work, Ethan stopped by a little grocery store owned by Mrs. Margaret, an elderly widow in her late 70s. Her husband had passed away long ago, and her children had moved to different states. The store was her whole world, a place where she could chat with neighbors, smile at children, and feel like she still belonged to the rhythm of life. Ethan often helped her carry boxes, fix the shelves, or shovel snow from the sidewalk in winter. He never asked for payment. He said helping her made him feel less alone. One rainy Friday evening, as Ethan stood in line at the counter, he saw a young woman counting coins with trembling fingers. Her name was Lisa. She came to town only a few months ago with a little girl about 5 years old. Rumor had it that she left an unhappy marriage and was trying to start over. That evening she looked exhausted, the kind of exhaustion that lives behind the eyes. Her total was $12.75. She had only $12. Ethan pretended not to notice her embarrassment, stepped forward and placed a dollar bill on the counter. "Keep the change," he said softly, giving her a small smile. Lisa looked at him in surprise, her eyes glistening. "Thank you," she whispered. It was just $1, but in that moment, it meant the world to her. After she left, Ethan bought his usual loaf of bread, some soup cans, and, on impulse, a lottery ticket. He had never believed in luck, but something about that night, with the rain tapping on the windows and Mrs. Margaret smiling behind the counter, made him feel like maybe the universe owed him a small surprise. When he was about to pay, he noticed Mrs. Margaret searching her pockets for her glasses. Her hands trembled slightly. He handed her the ticket and said, "You know what? Why don't you keep it? Maybe luck will visit you before it ever comes to me." She chuckled, eyes crinkling. "Oh, Ethan, you young folks shouldn't waste money on these silly things." But he insisted. "Then think of it as a thank you for all the pies you've given me for free." Mrs. Margaret smiled and tucked the ticket into the register. A week later, the whole town buzzed with news. Someone had won the state lottery. The grand prize, millions of dollars. People filled the grocery store, talking, guessing who it might be. Ethan smiled faintly at their excitement. That night, when he stopped by, the lights were off, and the closed sign hung at the door. He knocked, but no one answered. The next morning, a letter arrived at his small apartment. His name was written in shaky handwriting. It was from Mrs. Margaret's lawyer. His hands trembled as he opened it. Inside, there was a letter. The ink faded slightly from age and emotion. She had written that when Ethan gave her the ticket, she thought it was just a kind gesture. But when she realized that the winning numbers matched the ticket he'd given her, she couldn't stop shaking. She had never expected fortune to find her so late in life. She said she didn't have much time left, and that money no longer mattered. But Ethan's kindness had reminded her that goodness still existed in the world. So she had signed the winning ticket over to him. She wrote that she wanted him to use the money not just to change his life, but to change others, to make the world a little gentler than he found it. When Ethan finished reading, his hands were trembling. He folded the letter carefully, tears rolling down his cheeks. The room felt suddenly very quiet, filled with a stillness that was both heavy and bright. For a long time, he just sat there, thinking about the rain that night, about the woman counting her coins, about the old lady's tired smile. A month later, the grocery store reopened. Only now, the sign above the door read, "Margaret's Hope." Ethan had used part of the winnings to restore the store, hire staff, and create a small community space. A corner for kids to read, for the elderly to gather, for people like Lisa to find work. Lisa now managed the bakery section, her daughter often playing with crayons at the counter. Ethan never moved to a big house. He still lived in his small apartment, still fixed cars at the shop. But sometimes when he passed by the store at sunset and saw laughter spilling out through the glass windows, he would pause and smile quietly. The money had changed his life, yes, but not in the way people thought. It had changed the way he saw the world, the way he believed in it again. And every time the wind rustled through the maple trees outside, it sounded like a whisper from the woman who had once believed in kindness more than luck. Somewhere in that whisper, Ethan always heard her voice. Use your luck well, my boy. Let it make others feel lucky too.